Hey, Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Stone Rule Well. Let's Brother Menashe, DC Camp, short lesson to defy the hope for elect. Yep, so always keep in mind, we are moving towards that agenda to be integrated into the so-called cashless economy. All right, that's exactly what the prophecy of the Lord Yahweh Shai revealed to his apostles. All right, John, when you read the book of Revelation, it tells you about the mark of the beast, and everything is just coming to fruition. All right, so I'm excited about it. Despite all the dangers and all the sadness and miseries of the people. It's exciting times we're living in now, so you have to be prepared spiritually. All right, it's a bumpy road, so you expect things to happen. You expect things to be shaken up. All right, so all these corona, mumbo jumbo is just an excuse to bring in that system of digital payments, digital currencies. All right, so I got this quick clip. How Esau is, man. They always like to look into certain things when they're curious. And it's not that far-fetched, man, to acknowledge, the findings. It's already there in front of us, right? So the elect, they search diligently and they seek out the hidden things of Esau. So I'm just gonna play it real quick and then have an idea of what you're gonna be dealing with in the coming future.
What is up, everybody? So I wanted to get this video out quickly. This was just live streamed. This is an interview with Christine Lagarde, European Central Bank, EBLC Northern Light Online Summit 2020, World Economy with Christine Lagarde. And this is about 7 or 8 minutes long here, but I really stress the fact that you guys need to listen to this. I will tie it together at the end here. For those of you that are not aware, Christine Lagarde has relationships with and has met with Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson, facilitated meetings with some of the highest level bankers in the world, with Brad Garlinghouse sitting at the panel table. And this should really open your eyes as to where you're going. Now, this first lady that speaks is from the ELBC. She talks for about 2 minutes here. And then Christine Lagarde touches on digitization. They mentioned blockchain in this. And she basically says that it's a march, and it's going to be a sequential march, and it's going to seem like everything is going very slow.
And then, if you watch previous videos as per Christine Lagarde, she used to be the former head of the IMF, and now she's the head of the European Central Bank. All right, so she once referred to all these cryptocurrency, situations, or let me say, the drive towards cryptocurrencies. She referred to them as being disruptors and in the financial economy. But you know how it is, man. They're the ones behind it in the first place. That's how they acted. At first, they tried to reject it, pretend that they're against it on the news, news channels and all the articles and all that. And then come to find out that down the line, they're for it. So that's how Esau is. He pretends to be against something, but he's truly for it. All right, that's how he's able to, conquer the world by deception. And the scripture talks about, how the angel of the Lord, the Lord Yahushua, released the dragon out of the bottomless pit so he could deceive the world for a season. Yep, so that deception has already taken place, and it's reaching its height. Okay, so I'll play the video some more and get the precepts.
And then it's not, and then it's just going to be here. So this is interesting, everybody. Please pay attention. I hope you guys enjoy this.
to Eric. And let me now go on to our last speaker in this session and get a very quick perspective on Corona recovery and digitalization, because it's often said, and in fact was just pointed out in this session, that the crisis has fast forwarded us into a digital future. That's certainly true here for the EBLC. So I'd like to come to EBLC's Northern Star, Minu Zabafi, Senior Vice President at Bertelsmann Investments and managing its global venture capital activities, to ask whether you agree with that view and where you see the biggest growth prospects. And I'll ask you to keep it very brief, if you would, just under 2 minutes. Thanks so much.
Look, Limu, someone needs help customizing and saving.
That's the drama you gotta deal with, man. You know, we know how it is, man. You know, the man of the law gotta be aware of what his drama is about. All right, so just be spiritual. All right.
With Liberty Mutual.
Oh. Make the days count with carbs to fuel and electrolytes to help replenish. Nothing beats Gatorade.
Thank you, Melinda.
And obviously, we see Lagarde. I am going to interject maybe once or twice here, but not much, because it speaks for itself in volumes.
And thanks so much for having me. Coming back to your first question, I would certainly say that COVID has raised our awareness that there is a digital future. I would be careful to say, though, that we have all arrived there yet. What we can observe is, when you look into those ones who came out as the winners of this crisis, they have certainly invested in technology very early on, and they either control it or they own it. And that is clearly something to be considered going forward. Regarding the growth process.
And that's the idea of being the boss of this system. Right? It's about ownership and control, and that's exactly what the elites, thrive on. That's exactly what keeps them going. They want that birthright so bad, they're willing to do anything for power. All right, that's what it means: power, ownership, and control. If you don't control it, you can't own it. If you don't own it, if you own it, you have to control it. All right. So you get a whole drift, man. You have to make sure that you keep those two things in mind: ownership and control. And that's exactly what the Lord Yahweh Shemashah is all about: ownership and control. And that's how Esau wants to be. He wants to be like the Most High. He envies the Lord. All right. So that's the reason why he's trying to, overthrow Jacob, overthrow the Lord Yahweh Shai, and overthrow the Most High Yahweh. But he's going to fail miserably. All right.
Aspects, and I will make it very short in just 3 highlighting points. First, the pandemic, in my view, has shown us in an unprecedented way the importance of our health and human resilience. So I expect massive innovation happening in the spaces of healthcare, in the medical sector, and as well in the education sector. And this has been also pointed out by Christine Lagarde earlier.
Now she gets into blockchain.
Second, technology-wise, we have heard already a lot about AI in yesterday's session, so I would like to point out to what I would call trust-enhancing technologies. And if you look into the geopolitical debate that we also had yesterday around safe supply chains, I do believe that there is some momentum for the use of blockchains in environments where trust is a scarcity. Third, I'm a big believer, and this has been also...
Yep. Trust is a scarce, commodity. All right, so you have to understand, man. That's the reason why they have to keep up, ramping up all their propaganda. All right, because all the lies and all the, deceptions they keep pushing and pushing and pushing on the airwaves, it's not really taking hold. That's why they have to enact stricter, laws. They have to create tension in society, coming up with agendas to defund the police, Black Lives Matter, drumming up war with Iran and Syria, just pushing hard against Venezuela. So that's how far Esau's willing to go, and not to even mention, eradicating Jacob from off the face of the earth.
Been said a lot of times in today's sessions, in collaboration and partnerships, and especially in Europe, and especially with regard to this fragmented recovery that we've been talking about. That's why I'm convinced that any tools and technologies, such as open source, that will allow us to integrate, share knowledge, and collaborate faster will continue to grow, even more so after COVID. So coming back to what you said in the beginning, and probably also referring to that we probably have passed the lowest point, my call to action is that, especially in Europe, we need to find the right balance between preserving the old and investing and building the new digital future.
That's what it is, That's what it is. That's what ESO's all about, And let me get a quick precept, man. It's like Yakim. Right, talking about the old, preserving the old and building for the new and all that stuff. That's directly out of the scriptures. All right. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter. Let's start from chapter 17. Okay. So it says the beast that was. It's like the beast thou dost. Let me start from verse 7. Revelation chapter 17, verse 7. And the angel said unto me, why didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, and which had the 7 heads and the 10 horns. All right, so I can already familiar with the precepts. Know that the woman represents America, and the beast is the EU. All right, and verse 8 says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not. All right, represents the Roman Empire, the EU, the Roman Empire, the common markets, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. All right. So it just shows you, they're trying to preserve their power structure, and they're trying to move on to something bigger, something greater, something much more, attractive to the people. They want to cover, the whole planet Earth, because the Roman Empire didn't really get a chance to extend all the way deep down into Africa. They didn't get a chance to extend all the way in towards Russia. They didn't get a chance to extend all the way to China, Japan, and the islands of the sea in the Pacific. All right, but this time around, they've reached the heights. Okay, they just have to, stir up that last drama, that last battle to come out against the Lord, and they think their plan is gonna, be fully set in place, but it's not. All right, so that's exactly what she just said. So I just read it to you in Revelation chapter 17, verse 8. Right, they're trying to preserve their old power structure, their old image, and move on with a new and an improved image. All right, and it's all about ownership and control, just like she mentioned earlier on. So I'm going to fast forward to what the OG grammar said. All right.
So I would.
Now, really pay attention to exactly what Christine Lagarde is saying here. This last 4 or 5 minutes is so interesting. It definitely tells us where we've been, where we are now, and where we're about to be. And I was super excited when I saw this video. So
like to go back now to ECB President Christine Lagarde for some final concluding words, but I'll just get you started, if I may, Madame Lagarde, with one last audience question. And it comes from Magnus Schultz, who is from Wallenberg Foundations. And he asks how Europe can long-term reinforce its position and eventually its sovereignty in the international financial system, and thus be better positioned to counter U.S. and Chinese influence.
That's gonna be, the ultimate goal, man. to integrate nations into their so-called New World Order agenda. The image of the beast has to be cast, the shadow of the beast, the acts of the beast. That's exactly what it's all about. They want the people to conform. All right, it's not about, people cooperating. They want total submission. All right. So it's beautiful, to see these things take place. All right, because they know that they got to throw America under the bus. They talk, the scripture tells about a wound being laid under America. All right, I'll just pull it up real quick. All right, so this is the book of Obadiah, verse 6. It says, chapter 1, verse 6, how the things of Esau searched out, how are his hidden things sought up. All the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right, so that's what's going to happen to America, man. America is going to be thrown under the bus. It's going to be crushed. The scripture it says that the beasts shall turn against the whore and burn her fire, and burn her flesh with fire and all that stuff. All right, so it's getting serious out here, man. In the world of geopolitics. But just to be more precise, it's about, Esau trying to get back his birthright. So America got to be sacrificed. The world has to be sacrificed for them to achieve that goal, right? But through the grace and the mercy of the Lord Yahushua, they're going to fail, all right? So it's what you're experiencing, man. America has to be taken under, man. Okay, so once America is out of the way, then they could move with full steam.
So, in a way, another question regarding that long-term role for the euro, possibly as a global reserve currency?
I think that's a wonderful question to finish with. And I believe that there is a way. It will rely, in my view, significantly on cooperation. Cooperation amongst ourselves. I don't think that we will have an international currency of standing and level that we aspire to unless and until we have a deep European capital market. And we must build that, and I keep repeating it to our European leaders. They can't leave that behind if they really mean European autonomy, as it's called. Number two, cooperation with the rest of the world. And, the European Central Bank, yesterday, I'm very proud of it, the Governing Council decided to put in place a new instrument that will allow us to provide euros to countries that can take advantage of that repo instrument that is available. So we can actually facilitate the hardship suffered by countries that have difficulties accessing euros.
Yeah, so the whole plan is to, pull nations in, man. They already got their puppets and all these different third world countries in place, all right? So all they got to do is just link them in, just like that so-called site, LinkedIn. Yeah, that's all it is, man. You have to integrate, all right? So it's gonna be tough, man, in these last days for those that want to go against the system of Edomite supremacy, all right? So it's gonna be chaotic, that's what they want, the end run. All right, in addition to them overthrowing, the house of Jacob. All right, so I'm going to read the book of Revelation, chapter 14, chapter 9 and 10. It says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, all right, so if you go along with this idea for digital currency and the RFID microchip. All right, if you wholeheartedly with it, and his image, right, believe in their governing structure, their philosophies, and their ideologies and their plans, all that, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. So whosoever it is of the nation of Israel, of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and those spread out throughout the four corners of the earth, they go along with the source program for a new order and the image of the beast and receive the microchip. They doomed, all right, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And that's exactly what the judgment is for going along with the European Union, the European Central Bank's agenda, to be integrated into their ideology, to be plugged into that system of governance, right? Because this is the scripture says, the Mosiah says the earth is his footstool and heaven is his throne. So whatever it decides has to happen on earth, and there can be no opposition to the Lord's plan. All right, so all these people out there talking about, digital currency is the way of the future, they're sadly mistaken. All right, they're thinking that they can overthrow the Most High's plans, and they're going to fail miserably. All right, so another precept I'm going to read is going to be from the book of Revelation, chapter 13. I'm going to read from verse 11 to verse 18. Well, the point is in there if you just read it. From verse 11 to verse 18, it says, "And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lion." All right, that's America right there. "And he spoke as a dragon." All right, and we read in Revelation chapter 17, the woman that sat on the beast, that's America. And here in Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, talks about the lamb that had two horns. The two horns represents America's political structure. All right, the Republicans and the Democrats, and he spake as a dragon. He spoke with authority and boldness and with great violence, man. With tyranny. All right, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. All right, so America is basically doing the bidding of the EU. And just like we read in the book of Obadiah, it tells you that the Confederacy, that's a confederacy right there. The confederacy between the first beast and the second beast. All right, the dragon with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, and the lamb with the 2 horns. That's a confederacy right there. Okay, then it says, "And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." And that's what America is doing, sanctioning nations into oblivion to make them conform to the agenda of New World Order. And then you hear about Venezuela. They intending to expel the ambassador of the EU, all right, because he was meddling, and the EU also has sanctions against members of the government over there in Venezuela, all right. So if you read the whole precept, Revelation 13 from 11 to 18, it tells you, and then verse 15 says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast." This is in verse 15, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And that's the agreement. All right, but they don't really, a lot of Americans don't really understand that America is going to be destroyed too. All right, the deception. So once the Lamb is doing the bidding of the dragon, then the lamb is going to be sacrificed. All right, and that's what it boils down to. It clearly tells you that. Clearly tells you that wound, it has been laid under Babylon. And the whore has to be torn apart. All right, so I don't want to speak too much. And if you read Revelation chapter 19, verses 19 and 20, it also tells you, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. All right, that represents the so-called Roman Catholic Church and their doctrine, that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So they're going to be tormented, man. Folks that went along with the system, they're going to be destroyed. And then you read verse 21, it says, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, that's Yahushua, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So when you read 2nd Ezra chapter 13, it tells you. So I'll play a few more from this clip.
So cooperation amongst ourselves, cooperation with others, and I believe it will also require significant investment in digital. We will see digital payments. My hope, and we are working hard on that. Oli Ren is a strong supporter of these initiatives, and all governing council are determined in that direction. We are working on digital payments, expanded, safer. The recent developments of the innovative private sector payment systems shows us that public sector investment and the trust embedded in central banks need to be deployed for that precisely. And, whether it is cross-border payment, whether it is remittances, whether it is access to the population that is still unbanked, all that needs to be supported in this digital...
Cross-border payments, remittances, and the unbanked population. That sounds very familiar.
Payment world towards which we are marching. It's not...
Yeah, that's a point right there, man. That's what they want to march the people towards, okay? So it's beautiful to understand that, that what they're doing is about bringing total control. All right, they want to own the earth to the fullest, just like, Job, all right, chapter 9, verse 24. It tells you, let me pull it up real quick. Book of Job 9:24, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, so that's the beast, Esau. All right, that's the beast right there. All right, covering the faces of the people, the judges. Who are the judges of the earth? The Israelites, the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans. And that's what we got to deal with, man. You can't be ignorant of the devil's devices, man. The deceiver and the adversary, all right? So final precept is going to be from the book of Psalms, chapter 2, all right? So it says, why do the heathen rage? Why? And the people imagine a vain thing, all right? So all this idea for global currency, global, transactions, and getting rid of dollars and all that, and paper payments and all that stuff, writing of checks. That's all, a plan, for them to be more in tune with their power, right? To have total dominion, right? So it says, it's vain, man. You're not satisfied with the little that they have. They want everything else, all right? They want the souls of the people. Psalms chapter 2, verse 2 says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord. And this is exactly what they're doing, all right? and against his anointed. That's Jacob. All right, talking about the unbanked. You don't want to go into the so-called tall war countries and get them all chipped up and linked into the system, and then have them vaccinated. All right, if you don't get vaccinated, they'll get chipped. If they can't get chipped, they get vaccinated. They gotta have one or the two. But at the end of the day, man, they just want to destroy Jake. That's the goal. Okay, then verse 3 says, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." All right, so they don't want Jake, man. They don't want Israel. They just want to do away with our nation. And that's the reason why, the Messiah is coming against them. This so-called epidemic of Karen is a sign from the Lord that Esau's house is about to be torn apart. Okay? Then verse 4 says, "He that sitteth in the heavens, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision." And you're going to see how the Lord is going to tear down their plans, man, little by little. They're already getting exposed, so they have to come against channels. They have to destroy brothers' channels. They have to come against, reporters and people that share vital information about what's going on. Okay, so expect more trauma, more drama. Okay, so that was a point that I can, spoke a little longer. But, just information that had to be brought out. The precepts always come up with a new vibration, and you see things clearer and clearer. Shalom.